Hey everybody, how's it going? Max with BuzzTox here, and we'll see how many people come on. So far, we got two people in the chat. What's up, Carrie Reeves and Illa Bolshevik? Um, what's going on? Before I get started, I just want to talk about my channel a little bit. So as you guys have seen, I've released a bunch of videos today. I released talking about the new trailer that came out from Comic-Con. But one problem is I did a breakdown video with Trevor. And it's taken me like 3 days to get it up. Like it's been crazy, and it's an hour-long video, and just like putting in certain types, I don't know, something about it being 60 minutes long and me putting in under 30-second clips, I get flagged a lot. So I've rendered it and re-uploaded it 3 separate times. So I went through it and I just put in images. So hopefully it'll be able to come up now. But I want to hear your guys' opinion, if you guys like it. I might change the format. Instead of doing 60 minutes of talking about the episode character by character, maybe I'll do like 5 videos talking about each character specifically. I think that would make more sense, and it wouldn't just kind of be all over the place. But let me know what you guys think. And my initial thoughts on the trailer, I gave it in the video I just released, but overall I liked it. We got a little sneak peeks at certain things that we didn't earlier in other teases, which was awesome. What additions did we even get? Melisandre, we kind of knew that she would be arriving at Dragonstone, but this kind of confirmed it. And what I really love about this season is that the marketing is really focused in on the first 2 episodes. Like, we did get action peaks of High Garden and Over the Wall by Eastwatch, but it's really primarily been episode 1 and episode 2 focused. And there's so much that we're going to see that we haven't seen in the trailers. An example of this is like, what's Bran going to see, you know, when he goes to the Weird Witchery in Winterfell? Flashbacks. Are we going to see Tourney of Harrenhal? Like, there's a lot of stuff that we haven't seen in the trailers at all, and I think it could play out really awesome. It's really exciting. And let's check out the chat. Megan Marjorie, what's going on? Diehard fan over here, thank you so much. It's better to make it shorter. You're right. Westworld, it ended up working out really well, because it was a show that you could really pick apart, and you needed every scene. You needed to view every scene almost to be analytical, but Game of Thrones, every scene almost stands on its own because you have different characters and different aspects of the world. So I think I might split it up into different episodes. And it's theory-based too. Like, there was a theory that I was talking about with The Hound that I think would have been great as a standalone video, instead of it being crammed in 60 minutes. So I think I might want to change the direction on that a bit. Hopefully the breakdown video, the 60-minute breakdown video that I did with Trev, is up tomorrow, but it's been a huge pain in my ass. So we'll see what happens. Enzo Gluz, what's going on? I had a question about the last Comic-Con trailer. So do you think that the dragon's flying scene takes place when Jon arrives at Dragonstone? And is this the moment where we're going to see Rhaegal be watching Jon, etc.? I think so. I think it'd be awesome if Jon arrived on the shores of Dragonstone and we were kind of watching his perspective. And we saw him, you know, he's going to greet Tyrion at the beaches. And I think he will come into contact with the dragons. And it's the first time he sees dragons. So we're going to definitely witness that with him. And I would love if they built the Rhaegal-Jon relationship like right off the bat. Like if Rhaegal was like looking at Jon or approached Jon or something like that. Because me personally, I want a moment that we had with Daenerys in season 5. Like, if Jon is ever in trouble and he closes his eyes and summons Rhaegal, I think that would be the coolest thing ever. But I would like for them to build that relationship. And like Tyrion, we got a little bit of that too. So I don't know if they're going to build more with Tyrion. He had that little scene with him in episode 2 of season 6 where he set them free. But they kind of chalked that up as they know they're friends from their enemies, so they were nice to Tyrion. But it could also hint at the obvious that he's Targaryen, which I don't know if they're going to touch on in this show, because I feel like they haven't laid down the groundwork enough. And I don't know. I feel like history doesn't always have to repeat itself. We don't need 3 heads of the dragon, so maybe they kill a dragon. You know what I mean? So we'll see what happens. Thank you so much, Tyrion Jr. Landstark, for $2. That's awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate anything. I'm not expecting anything, and like, thank you so much. I think that's unbelievable. 5-minute clips is better for me. Yeah, I think that's the majority. People don't like listening to an hour-long video. And like I approached it initially as a podcast. So like you'd sit and listen to it, but then I add editing to it. So it's like, it's just like an extra, it's so much work for me. And I think it's kind of unnecessary. Just watched a breakdown of the trailer. Awesome. Thank you so much, Juliet. That's awesome. I heard it dropped when I was at the gym. So I rushed here and got the video up because I really wanted to share my thoughts on it. And I want to get as much out as possible before episode 2 airs. Steph the Rose, I'd like to see Bran go into the past and see why the Night King decided to revolt. That would be interesting. I don't know. Like the things with Bran and the Night King, like I don't know what we'll see. You know what? That's something I don't have an answer to. I can't. The one thing that I can say about them is that I hope they touch on them as like a society and a culture. Like I want to see that so bad. And with the Hound, like we got a lot of sneak peeks with the Hound. It was my favorite part of the last episode, was focusing in on the Brotherhood Without Banners and the Hound. And first of all, the Hound was granted access to see into the flames. I talk about all this in my breakdown video that's coming up. But the Hound was granted access to see into the flames, which raises questions on how important he is in the Long Night. He says that he saw a wall where the wall meets the sea, which is Eastwatch by the Sea, and he said that he saw an arrowhead. What's crazy about this arrowhead is that you see the arrowhead on the Night King. He wears the arrowhead here, kind of on his torso, on his upper chest, and the White Walkers wear a smaller kind of an arrow. So to me, that hints at culture. It means that there is something. And another thing, holy shit, Sam, when he's going through the books, you see arrows. He's looking at dragon glass and arrows and stuff like that. And I think it all connects to the White Walkers. There's something culturally with the White Walkers that's related to arrows. Like if you look at a piece of dragon glass, when it's sharpened, it typically looks like an arrowhead. So I think that's going to be really interesting if they explore that and them as a society. And we've learned so much of them, even in the last episode. They traveled in a pack of 5 when we see them in episode 1 when they're walking and the snow is kind of following them, showing a new ability that they bring the storm. And they usually travel in packs of 4 when they're attacking. When they're taking Craster's babies, they send one of them, but they're not wearing armor. So it's these specifics that show that each White Walker has almost a different role to play and that they have some kind of a society built onto all this. So I would love to see that fleshed out, and maybe Bran would flesh that out. And my prediction always relied on the White Walkers being more than just a weapon of mass destruction. And Jon's whole story arc is perspective, learning both sides. With him and the wildlings, he understood them, brought them back over the wall. And I would love if that story arc finishes off with Jon realizing that the White Walkers are more than what they just seem, and that he almost has to save them from Daenerys. I think that would be such an interesting story arc. But obviously, it would have to be built on with understanding the White Walkers and giving Jon a true reason why to defend them. Ronan McGregor, BuzzTox. During the 4 seconds of the new promo, we see a dragon that has lightly colored wings. Viserion? Do you think they focused on him for a specific reason, like they did on Drogon in 43 seconds? I honestly don't know. I feel like every dragon is going to get somewhat of like a shine, like their moment. Like so far this series has really been focused in on Drogon, and I think now they're really starting to go, holy shit, like we need to start focusing in on these other dragons. And Rhaegal we're gonna get a real big focus on, I think, because of his connection to Jon. And Viserion is gonna get focused too, because either he has a connection to someone, which could be Tyrion, or he's a dragon that dies. So it would make sense for them to want to focus in on this dragon because we're not going to have much time with him. Fuck. Is my chat busted? Not good. Sorry, guys. I went on a tangent. I think I lost some of the chat. All right, we're good. Let me know if you're here. Just say yes. Please say yes. I feel like we disconnected for a second. All right, Jon Snow. Nah, don't mind longer vids. Sweet. You're in the minority, I think, right now. Yeah, Groovy P. What happened to your long ass video that got deleted? What you talk about? Okay, so for those of you who didn't hear me before, those long videos that I posted, it's been a pain in my ass because it keeps getting flagged. I try to bring in some videos to make it like somewhat entertaining, but it keeps getting flagged. So I had a majority put images in it, but it's pretty much a long podcast of me and Trev breaking down the episode scene by scene, what we pull from each scene and what that means for the series going forward. So it's like a big theory and predictions video. And I'm debating on separating that one 60-minute video maybe into 10 other videos moving forward when episode 2 comes. Who do we got there? Lucid Horizon, Clegane Bowl, Dragon Pit. Everyone talks about Clegane Bowl, and I don't think it's ever going to happen. Even I was always poo-pooing the idea. I didn't think it would work. And you know, I know that they may be going to the Dragon Pit, but I don't think that we're going to see Clegane Bowl anytime soon. We may see a rivalry. I think the Hound may be a bit bitter, even though he hates his brother. I think he would be almost kind of pissed off at Cersei for taking the mountain and turning him into almost her slave. So I think that would be an interesting point there too. The gift is the Sand Snakes and Theon's sister. Potential spoiler, but that does make a lot of sense. We have seen Euron Greyjoy in the trailer that was posted today. He's riding through King's Landing holding a rope, which is presumably he would be taking Ellaria and Yara. And that's the best gift I think anyone could give Cersei is vengeance, the ability to get revenge. And him giving Ellaria to Cersei is a big deal because Ellaria killed her daughter Marcella. So I think that's the best gift he could have given. And then the synopsis of episode 3 actually says that Cersei returns a gift. And a lot of people are speculating that the gift that she returns is the viper that was holding Marcella's necklace. And I totally agree, except it'll be the viper maybe holding something that belongs to Tyene Sand, her daughter. And I personally think, in my predictions I talked about it, I think that Cersei's going to execute Tyene Sand in front of Ellaria. And it's going to be like really crazy torture. But, you know, I could be wrong. The 4 animal. Do you put any stock in the theory that the Night King is going for a Night Queen? Danny. No, I don't. I think that, you know, Daenerys is fire, and fire directly combats ice. I don't think Daenerys would be suitable for a queen for the Night King. I think that, if anything, I think he may be looking for a replacement or something like that. Like, I think the best candidate would be Jon Snow. Like, I don't want Jon to die, but he may end up becoming a White Walker or taking the mantle as the new Night King. I don't know how that would work, but I just think that the parallels between the characters are crazy. I'm going to be working on a video of Jon Snow and why he's so important, but like the connections between the characters are insane. Jon is literally a human White Walker. Like, he embodies so much of the Night King, and their similarities are like crazy. So I think in Hardhome, when Jon killed that White Walker and the Night King was staring at him, I think that stare means a lot more than, holy shit, you killed my guy. I think it means like he has a deeper meaning to the Night King's plan in the long run. So we'll see what happens, but I think Jon might end up being like totally embodying ice, even though he's internally fire, which is his blood is fire. Targaryen, which is a lot like the Night King. The Night King embodies ice, but internally he's dragon glass, which is made up of fire. So I think there's a lot of connections there, which would be really interesting. Candrit Manius, what do you think the White Walkers actually want and what will be revealed? I think there's a lot backing up that they're a society. I think they're a full-blown culture now. This guy, one of the Andals back in the day, was converted into the Night King from the Children of the Forest, and from that he's built up a society. And in this society, he over time he can't reproduce, so he has to take babies and convert them, which is Craster's babies. And I think he just wants his species to survive, because he's been a White Walker more than he's been a human. And I think something might have happened. Maybe the introduction of Daenerys, the introduction of her dragons, might have resulted in a long winter, because the Night King is like, well, that could have broken an agreement, and that's it's not just a prediction by me. Everyone's been saying that there could be a prediction. There could be an agreement before Game of Thrones, like the last long night, to end the fighting. The Night King made an agreement, and that agreement was that no dragons, because they're like weapons of mass destruction. We put up this wall. We'll stay on our side of the wall. You stay on yours. Don't break your side of the agreement. And this whole conflict could have started just from the dragons. It could have started because they broke their agreement. I think the Night King would want what anyone else wants. He wants his people to be safe, and all that. But we'll see what happens. I know the fact that they can't be a complete society because they can't reproduce. So we'll see how that goes. But there were other hints too, where the Hound did mention that he saw an arrowhead. What if the Night King wants to go to Dragonstone to get Dragonglass to create more White Walkers? You know what I mean? So there's a lot on the table with the White Walkers, and there is evidence to show that they could be a part of a society. But it wouldn't surprise me if they were played off as the enemy, just a weapon of mass destruction that they must stop. So we will see. But I think with George R. R. Martin and in general, ice isn't bad, fire isn't bad. So I think this story is going to show the bad aspects of both, the bad side of dragons, the bad side of ice, which is White Walkers and whites, and etc. Ruben Green, do you think that they will try to mark this dark season of Game of Thrones comedic, like episode 1, to balance the growing intensity? They had a bit, like they did have a bit of comedy, and I actually like really enjoyed it. Like Sam's bit, I like hated on it in my reaction video, but like I actually really appreciate it because it shows what he's doing in a visual way. Like that's what making film is. That's what storytelling is you want to project it on the screen in a visual way, and you don't have to explain it with words. It's a whole different medium, and I think they did that right. The Hound too, he's pretty funny in this episode. Going forward, I think we will have a bit of humor in the next couple episodes, but I think it might get pretty dark. And I hope it gets really dark. I personally love like really dark stories, and everyone appreciates Game of Thrones for being like it's obviously medieval, violent, and dark, but it also has an element of comedy. I think they might shed it a bit, get rid of that comedy to produce more of a dark story, kind of like the Harry Potters. But I would love to see that because I'm a sucker for a dark story. I love Bolshevik. I think dragons will burn White Walkers, or agreement will happen with Jon to help on the White Walker side. Yeah, so there's two sides of that. I think either dragons have to defeat the White Walkers, and Bran is a huge part of being that. He has to fly. You know, I think you know, he'll never walk again, but he will fly. It means a lot more than him flying as a crow. I think it means him flying as a dragon. I think Daenerys will give her life. I think they will defend the wall, and she will die on the wall. And I always go to an example in season 2 when Daenerys goes into the House of the Undying, and she goes from the Red Keep, or the throne room, sorry, and she walks out to the wall. And what she finds there is a tent. And in that tent is Khal Drogo and her son. And what I think that means is that at the wall, she's going to see her family again, which is like, that's where she dies. And what I always said was that I thought it would be Drogon. I always thought a dragon would be killed and resurrected, but I thought it was going to be Drogon. So this whole thing, it could be, it could not be, but Viserion talk of him being killed and resurrected, you know, it could happen, which makes sense, because Viserion's the only dragon that doesn't seem to have a rider. But I thought it would be Drogon, and I thought the whole reason that Bran would have to fly is because Rhaegal and Viserion would refuse to fight their alpha brother. So Bran would have to warg and fly. But I don't know. There's a lot to it. Barbara, Night King wants to end his reign at the Isle of Faces. That to me makes a lot of sense. I think that's I think that does make the most sense. Is that we've seen that he's destroyed weirwood trees, and that's like the hub for like weirwood, and that's crazy. And it wouldn't surprise me if Bran has to journey south, because maybe Winterfell gets attacked and his weirwood tree gets destroyed. I'm not sure, but I think White Walkers have more ability than we think. I think that when we look at the weirwood tree that was destroyed, I think that's how the Night King uses it. He destroys it, covers it in ice, and that gives him the ability to warg, to greensight, to do all of those things. Whatever the weirwood tree is touching, if it's surrounded by ice, whatever is touched by ice, the Night King can manipulate it. So I think it's going to be a big fight, whereas the Night King, wherever he goes, he brings storms. I think he's warging. Anytime he resurrects, I think he's warging. Because you see their eyes turn blue. That's the Night King's eyes. And I think he's warging that whole time. And that's the whole thing, is it's the living versus the dead. It's Bran who can warg into living, whereas the Night King wargs into dead. And they can both greensight. And I think that explains the mark that he got on his wrist. As soon as he goes in, it's almost like him and the Night King cross telephone paths, like from the internet or something. Like, that was a terrible example, but you know what I mean. Like, while he was in there, he kind of met the Night King, and that's how the Night King was able to touch him, because they share the ability to greensight. So I think that would be very interesting to see. SC Garrett, will Tyrion ever finish his jackass and honeycomb walk to the brothel joke? Never. And I wonder if he'll ever try and tell it again. Geez, I don't know. I was talking about how they might get darker this season, but hey, I think it would be worth it if they talked about the jackass and the honeycomb joke. I think that'd be pretty awesome. Infinity 8, what do you think Dany will do when she finds out Mel burnt Shireen alive? She will find out, I think, because Jon is presumably, or is going to go to Dragonstone with Davos. We've seen it in the trailers. And I think, you know, Daenerys has burned people alive. Melisandre has burned people alive. And I think she's going to forgive her. I think it'll kind of be brushed under the rug. And, yeah, the season's going to be interesting because Melisandre is key, because when she arrives, she's going to say, like, oh, hey, like, you're needed in the long night, but so is another person, which she talks about Jon Snow. And I think that kind of immediately taints her opinion on who Jon Snow is. So when Jon already arrives on the shores of Dragonstone, Daenerys already has an impression on what kind of a guy he is. And I think that impression is important because she's going to want Jon to bend the knee. Jon's going to refuse. And Daenerys is going to have to hold on to him and make an ally out of him because she needs him. And he is very useful. And it's going to be a partnership. Daenerys isn't going to rule Jon. Jon will refuse, and Daenerys will have to go with it because of what Melisandre says. Davos is probably going to back Melisandre up when he arrives, saying Jon was resurrected. And Jon's going to talk about the Night King, how he was, you know, he was a member of the Night's Watch, and talk about Hardhome. And I think that'll be huge for Daenerys because she was never in touch with the magical aspect of it, like the wall. She didn't know about the White Walkers or anything like that. So I think that would be cool for her to find out about that. Tyrion Jr. Landstark. How do we know that the Whites can reproduce? Old Nan says that the Wildling woman lay with the White Walkers, and Old Nan is always right. It's possible. Just from what we've seen, though, I don't know, because they're obviously taking Craster's babies. So why else would they take Craster's babies if they can reproduce themselves? And they're only taking boys. So I don't know. What would happen why wouldn't they take one of Craster's girls? So there's an underlying issue there that we don't know about. So I wonder what that is. And we're learning more and more about lore as the seasons go on. And everything that is said goes to something else. Like, for example, Dragonglass. Dragonglass we thought of as something that could just kill White Walkers. It can kill White Walkers. It's made of dragon, like dragon breath and shit and whatever. But what's important about last episode is Sam actually found in a book, it says that dragon glass actually potentially has healing properties if it's ingested. What that means is that Sam is going to be researching how to create Valyrian steel using dragon glass. He's going to learn about the White Walkers and how to defeat them. But while he's learning about dragon glass, he learns about how to heal with dragon glass. And that's why Jorah's there. Maybe Jorah can just eat some dragon glass, grinded up dragon glass, and be okay. Because look at Shireen. Shireen lived on Dragonstone, and she had grayscale. And Stannis, his story is that he had every maester from everywhere to come in and try and make sure that she was okay. And it just ended up stopping, and they don't know why. Well, maybe it's because she lived on Dragonstone, and maybe it's because she might have ingested it. And I think that theory would really add up. I think that makes a lot of sense. Like, she only lived and survived grayscale because of her circumstances of being Princess Baratheon. I don't know. That doesn't sound right. I'm just talking. Sorry, guys. Of being, the princess and living on Dragonstone. So that very likely saved her. Andre Fallman, BTW, asked somewhere for your last stream, but don't think you answered. What was that, buddy? Ask me the question. I think I answered it, but ask me again, and I'll see if I can get to it, Andre, or Adrian. Derek Strokes at BuzzTox. When can we expect the episode 1 breakdown? That's going to be out tomorrow. It's been like a rifle pain in my ass. I've re-uploaded it 3 times. I pretty much put images in. So I want to warn you guys, it's a 60-minute video, and it's not to the quality that I usually do. It's usually just images. I'm going to be showing images, but it's going to be a conversation. It's going to be between me and Trev. And we're just going to chat Game of Thrones, and we're going to go scene by scene, and we focus on each character. We'll talk about Arya, then we'll talk about Jon, and then we'll talk about blah, 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 and then we'll just keep going on. And we talk about a lot of cool stuff there. So stay tuned for that, probably midday tomorrow. Andre Fallman. Oh, yeah, this one. Think the theory that Bran is all the other brands throughout history. Sounds kind of dumb. What do you think? I did answer this. What I think is that it is silly. Well, I get it. But I don't think that Bran is all the other brands in history. We know that Bran can manipulate history, and maybe he could warg into another Bran and do something, but I don't think Bran is all the other brands. Bran is Bran Stark, and his role is integral to the Long Night, but he's not the one who built the wall. He's not the one who, did all these things. But it would be interesting if they pulled it off in the right way. So, I don't know. Right now I'm no, but you never really know. Curious 03. Littlefinger will be murdered by Arya. In one preview, she's bent down looking for something. I think it's Cat's Paw Dagger that Bran tells her about. I totally agree. Check out my Arya Stark and my Sansa prediction video. I think that Bran is going to know what Littlefinger has done. He's going to kind of get Arya to come to Winterfell, and he's going to say, look, like, this is what Littlefinger's done. He's pretty much betrayed our family, and this is the one thing that we can prove. This is the one thing that can prove him guilty, and it looks like this. It's this kind of a dagger, and that's going to be Arya's mission, to look for this dagger. And Sansa's role is going to be to manipulate Littlefinger and kind of delay him and take advantage of him before she can sentence him to death. And I personally thought that she would do little things, like she would set up a marriage proposal between Arya and Robin. I explained that in my prediction video, but I think Sansa's everything about family, but she realizes that Winterfell, the North, needs allies, and she can't trust her crazy cousin. And she knows that the reason her cousin backs her is because of Littlefinger, and she doesn't trust Littlefinger, and he's not going to last for long. So she wants to secure that alliance. Nature Girl, why are the kingdoms so disillusioned about the White Walkers and magic? What happened to all the previous dragons? Well, it's been such a long time. Like, history wears on you, right? As history goes and goes, historical stories become fictionist stories, and people add to it, and it just becomes a falsehood. Like, people haven't seen White Walkers or dragons in thousands of years. And with Targaryens, dragons they were kept up in pens. They were treated like dogs, pretty much. Like they were always penned, like at the Dragon Pit in King's Landing, and they ended up just kind of shrinking, and they didn't really grow into anything crazy. And that's what's so significant about Drogon, is that he spent his whole time flying around doing what he wants, and he's been able to grow so big. And his brothers, Rhaegal and Viserion, kind of pale in comparison to Drogon, because Drogon was flying around, being a dragon, whereas Targaryens before kept them in cages, and, you know, did that sort of thing. So that was the end of kind of dragons and the White Walkers, and that could be a valid. It's like a question: what comes first, the chicken or the egg? What came first, the dragons or the White Walkers? And I'm talking in the context of this season. Both were gone for so long, but then Daenerys gets these eggs and hatches dragons. So we know that the season ends with Daenerys giving birth to those dragons, and we see at the start of the series the White Walkers are, you know, killing members of the Night's Watch. But my question is, what affected the other? Did Daenerys get these dragons because of obviously the magic that she produced, but because of the White Walkers coming south? Yeah, there are a lot of questions there that I hope will end up being answered. Talon Stag, the Targaryens are chained. Chain them up like, yep, there you go. That's what I was saying. What are you planning on focusing on through Q3? Oh, I know, right? Game of Thrones is going to be over. Westworld, I don't even know when that's going to happen. So maybe I'm going to focus on movies. I'm going to have a serious chat with you guys when Game of Thrones is over to figure out what I'm going to talk about. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. I don't even want to think about that right now. Mills Robinson, do you think that... Oh, my goodness, excuse me. Do you think that Obara Sand... I'm stuttering like crazy. Do you think that Obara Sand will survive the sea battle? Is Obara the really annoying one? Because there's one of the sand snakes that drive me nuts. Yeah, I think she's the one that annoys me. Yeah, she's toast. I think they're all toast. And I think if you guys remember, in the episode 2 teaser, we kind of got this girl stabbing, and it was like a freeze frame. I said in the video that I didn't know who it was. I think I'm willing to commit that that's Tyene Sand. She's kind of been like, she's kind of the main daughter. But I think Obara Sand's toast. The other one, I think her name's Nymeria Sand. I think she's dead too. And Alara and Yara are prisoner. And Theon is just sitting there like, what the fuck do I do? So I think that'll be interesting. And I'm happy to see the Sand Snakes die. Because like I've never loved them. I've never been a big fan of them. Season 6 premiere, when Nymeria and Obara Sand showed up to kill Trystane, that was cringe. I did not like that scene. Do you choose her? Do you choose me? And it was just, I didn't like it. Derek Strokes at BuzzTox. I can't remember if you answered this. I know you think Jon will keep Longclaw, but what happens with Dawn? Does it just stay with Howland Reed? I think it's one of those things, who knows? Like Bran, I'm pretty sure when Bran arrives at Winterfell, he's going to send Mira Reed back to the Neck to go see her father. And I feel like, you know, Bran could be doing that as, hey, go see your father. But I think he sees Mira as a chess piece, and he knows that he may eventually need contact with Howland Reed. With Dawn, though, I don't see Dawn as, like, I don't see it as like Azor Ahai needs Dawn in order to create Lightbringer. I see it as the Savior's Blade will end up becoming like Lightsbane or what have you. I think the significance of Dawn is that it was put over Jon's bed while he was being born. Like Jon was technically born under a bleeding star because it was Dawn, which was bleeding, and it was put over his bed. So I think that's the true significance of the bleeding star, and I think that Longclaw will follow Jon to whatever that is. Like if that's the sword that kills Daenerys and becomes the sword, then that's what I think would happen if they address all those little like nuggets in the show. Phyllis Wright, do you think that Bran will arrive in Winterfell? Don't want Sansa to look silly for too many episodes. Yeah, funny about Sansa. I appreciate the debates that her and Jon have, but when you guys see my breakdown video, I don't know what's wrong with me, but I agree with John. Like, to me, John makes sense. And I personally, I would like to think that I would make those decisions. First of all, with the kids, the Karstark and the Umber children, sure, John isn't supporting loyalty, and he's kind of, what I'm trying to say is I agree with John because the people who betrayed him, the Karstark and the Umber, Lord Small John Umber and Lord Karstark, whatever they are, they betrayed John, and John said that their punishment was death. Their kids aren't responsible for their actions, and I think it's a good strategic move because these kids are going to be so loyal to John moving forward. John saved their ass. Instead of taking away their home, he gave them another chance and had them swear loyalty. And with Cersei too, Sansa keeps telling him, like, hey, look, like, Cersei won't stop at anything to kill all of her enemies. And she told John that there's still a wall between them and the Night King. But I still agree with John. Like, really? Sure, Cersei's crazy enough to come north and attack Winterfell. Well, hopefully she has fun because the winter's here and traveling that far is going to suck. And she's going to lose the majority of her men just traveling north. And she's got a lot more on her plate than Winterfell. So I agree with John in that instance too. And then there's going to be another debate on whether to support Daenerys or maybe back Cersei, which is going to be nuts. And everyone, like Lord Royce and Sansa and everyone, they're not going to trust Daenerys because they see her as the Mad King's daughter. Like, they don't know her like we do. We spent 6 seasons with her. We know what kind of character she is, but the people of Westeros don't. And I think that's what's so important with Daenerys, is that she's got to watch it. She's got to watch how she acts because everyone's watching her. And that's why the fight for Highgarden is so important, because if Daenerys goes out of line and burns a lot of people, I get it. It's war. But when you're sitting there burning hundreds and hundreds of people, I think the people of Westeros will look at Daenerys and say, I don't think I like that kind of a ruler. And I think that would have some serious ramifications. And I think she will do that because she's a character of, like, action in a way. Like, I think Grey Worm's going to die, and that's going to make her go, you motherfuckers, and she's going to kill them all. And I think that's going to be concerning to some people who live in Westeros. Let me just read through some of these comments. Free Folk, hey, I really like your theories and predictions. Thanks a lot, buddy. Oh, you subscribed. Welcome to the team. What are we called, guys? The team. I don't know what you guys name yourselves. What do the subscribers of BuzzTox want to be called? Thank you so much, Talon Stag, for $2. That is awesome. That's my Tim Hortons coffee tomorrow, and it really adds up. And thank you so much. And most of you guys don't even know what Tim Hortons is, or you can't believe I drink Tim Hortons, but I'm a Canadian, and Canadians literally drink Tim Hortons. Like, we don't go Starbucks. We don't do anything. We do Tim Hortons. And the drive-through for Tim Hortons on a regular day in Canada, like a good 5 minutes or 10 minutes. It's not fast food at all because everyone wants a Tim Hortons coffee. The BuzzTox. Stephen Hart. I dig it, my man. I dig it. That's awesome. Free Folk, my new subscriber. One question. Do you think Tormund will be killed north of the wall? I hope not. I love Tormund. Like, he's one of my favorite characters. Do you think he's going to be killed at Eastwatch by the sea? By Hodor as a white, which would be really crazy to see, or possibly one of the giants. It would be interesting if he was killed by a giant, because it's like Tormund Giantsbane. But funny thing about Tormund is that my buddy bought me this, my little Jon Snow pop toy. I love it. And my friend's a redhead, and he got Tormund, so I think that's pretty funny. But I don't think he's going to die, because, and I hope he lives through the whole story, but he probably won't. I just think he's needed to lead the wildlings. He's the face of the wildlings, and I think that he has to die. What am I talking about? He can't die. He's the face of the wildlings, and he can't die. My one argument about Grey Worm is that I'm convinced Grey Worm's going to die, and he's the face of the Unsullied. But I think it'd be pretty awesome if Grey Worm died, and Daenerys said, shit, she could either get another Unsullied, or she could message Daario and say, hey, like, I need another ruler of the Unsullied. You were great at, being the head of the Dothraki. which we saw in episode 10 of season 6. And I think that would be a great way to bring him back into the story. Stephen Hart. Joffrey really believed Ned was a traitor. I don't believe that never dawned on me. Cersei had the lie sold to the evil little bastard. Yes. One of those things where you read it and you don't understand what you just read. So I'm just going to agree with you and say sorry. I don't know 100% what you said, but it sounds like I totally agree with you. Marco Minko. If this is a different time and not going to be a war with White Walkers, I maybe agree with Sansa, but it's not time now. Jon looking for an advantage. I agree. Jon's experience has hardened him to want to, pursue the White Walker threat over the Cersei threat. Yeah, I think it's all. If it wasn't winter, I'd be looking the other way. But a lot of people are saying like, Jon's stupid, all this stuff. But the last episode has proven to me like Jon's doing a really good job. And Sansa, I think she's making the wrong decisions because she's applying every situation that she's faced with what she's learned in King's Landing. And guess what? This isn't King's Landing. This is the North. People have been together for thousands of years. And Jon forgave the Karstark and Umber children because one day they're going to be the most loyal supporters of Jon because they're going to remember that day where he forgave them. The buzzers, I got to say I really love the buzzers. Buzzers are pretty sweet. I really like that one. Coffee is life. Totally agree. I knew you were Canadian from the flow. Thank you. Next live stream is going to be cut off a bit. I'm going to my barberist, like I was talking about in the last stream. So I'm going there at 9 in the morning. So we'll see how much hair I get cut off. Andre, have the chat with us about the rest of the year. I think I have some good tips for this series you might like to do. You know what? I agree. I love these live chats. I love talking to you guys. And I remember you at Westworld, man. Westworld was awesome. I loved Westworld. It was so much fun. And I'm excited for this season coming up. And we should just do random live streams talking about Westworld. Talking about, this is going to last for another 6 weeks, but talking about Game of Thrones after the season's over. Talking about movies. I watched Spider-Man Homecoming. I've been a Spider-Man obsessed fan since I was a kid. I wanted to do a review on it, but I never got around to it. And that's something I can talk about. Spider-Man, if you guys are into it. Ashley Ferris. Hey, Kid mentioned 15 hours ago of the fake filming. Since you reviewed the filming of the leaks in the news, which ones do you think are fake? What's funny? I'm probably wrong. When he said that he filmed fake scenes, first of all, you have to take that with a grain of salt. He might not have. He's just saying that to cover his skin. He also said that he's dead for season 6. But immediately, I don't know why, I thought of the scene where we see Jon petting a dragon head. At Dragonstone, we see leaks of a picture of Jon, and he's holding a giant mannequin dragon head, and he's like petting it. That could be considered a fake scene, which I totally put in my predictions because I'm a sucker. But anything else? I can't think of anything on the spot because Kit Harington said that they did film fake scenes, but that means it has to be physical, so it has to be an interaction. You know what I mean? Like all of the plot leaks that we've seen, they do detail stuff that needs special effects and all of these things. So the only thing that could really leak out to the public that we would see and think that is confirmed is seeing an interaction between two characters. And we know that Jon is going to Dragonstone. So I honestly think that everything that we've seen is pretty much valid. Everything we've seen is legit. If that scene of Jon petting a dragon head isn't like legit, well, so what? We're going to see Jon kind of connect with Rhaegal anyway later in the season. So I don't think it's that big of a deal. How many Valyrian weapons are confirmed for the show? I don't know how many are confirmed, but I know that we're going to see Cat's Paw. We're probably going to see Heartsbane, Longclaw. I'm trying to think of any others. I'm not sure, but that's what you got to pay attention with Game of Thrones is that they drop nuggets. Literally every scene in the last episode that we saw meant something. Every single scene. Even when you think it's character development or just like a conversation between characters, they're talking about something that is going to hint later in the season. Sam is flipping through the pages. We see Cat's Paw. That's Littlefinger's knife that was used to try and assassinate Bran. That is most definitely coming back this season. Even in promotional photos, we've seen Arya wearing it. And I personally think that that weapon is going to be used to shut Littlefinger down. It's going to prove that he's guilty. Heartsbane. Sam stole it from his dad. His dad is now going to end up in King's Landing fighting for the Lannisters. Probably going to try and take over Highgarden, and the Lannisters are probably going to promise him that if he helps, then he will be in control of the Reach. But Sam is probably going to take Heartsbane and learn how to work Valyrian steel. He's going to learn how to create it, learn the formula for it. He's going to learn how to melt it down and reforge it. And I think he might take Heartsbane, melt it down into 2 swords, and have just enough to make himself a link, which is a Valyrian steel link, which represents the higher mysteries, which will fulfill Bran's wish to become a wizard. So I would love to see that. Jon and Longclaw, you know, Jorah's going to be in the picture. I don't think Jorah's going to want that sword back because it's very much Jon's sword now. It's got a wolf, a dire wolf at the head of it now, not a bear. And like we were talking about before, that sword could become something very significant. What else we got here? Nature Girl, BuzzTox. Do you think Tyrion will ever be swayed by emotion to support his family? Jaime nearly dying or getting injured. I would love to see, not him getting, I think he's pretty much set to defend Daenerys, and he disagrees with everything Cersei is. I think he's given up on Cersei, and he kind of always has. I think his mission is to try and save Jaime. And a debate about him and his family is Ellaria Sand killed his niece, Marcella. So it'll be interesting to see. In the next episode, we see all of them sitting around the painted table planning their move. And Tyrion knows that Ellaria Sand killed his niece. So you could ask the question, that's a debate between Tyrion. Like, should I kill them? Should I sentence them to die? Kind of a thing. But I think he's going to put it aside because he knows that he has to win this war for Daenerys. And it's for the better of the world. And he's smart enough to put that aside and do what's right. But that could be a debate. Like, Ellaria Sand does get caught and captured. What if Tyrion was like, hey, you jump on that boat and you just sail at Euron Greyjoy and we'll see how you do. That could happen. I doubt it, but I think that'd be an interesting thing to touch on. Fighting-wise, with Dragonfire, Tyrion is going to be counseling Daenerys to be easy with her dragons. With Highgarden, only burn the resources to send a message. Don't burn a lot of soldiers because it'll ruin your morale, or it'll ruin your reputation. And I think she's going to hear that maybe Jaime or Bronn kills Grey Worm. And I think Tyrion is going to meet with Jaime, and Jaime's going to flip the hell on him because, first of all, he's betrayed their whole family. He's responsible for killing their father, all of this stuff. And on top of that, Tyrion didn't see what happened at Highgarden. Like, Daenerys was chasing him, trying to kill him, burning him, like all that. So I think there's a lot there that's going to be explored. And I think that'll be awesome. Like a crazy resentment between the brothers. And I would love to see that. Julia Rainier. Sorry, I might have butchered your name. Why do you think they need to know who Bran and Mira were at the gate? Wait, 1 second. What? Why did they need to know who Bran and Mira were at the gate of the wall? I mean, they're just living people. Get them there and ask. Yeah. I don't know. They did send the wildlings back. He did ask if he is a wildling. But that may be a difference in policy. Like, Dolores, I don't know if I'm saying that properly. Dolores Ed isn't Jon. You know, he might not have such a love for the wildlings as Jon does. So maybe that's why. And if you're going to let somebody in, you need to know who they are. Just from, as a Lord Commander, as a leader, you need to know who you're letting in the castle walls, regardless of who it is. Even if it is just a person, you need to know who you're bringing into your gates. And Bran proved it. He like read his mind. Derek Strokes, in your initial reaction for episode 1, you said that you thought that the Hound scenes were too comical. Could you expand on that? I rewatched it through, and it calls for a few people. Seems normal. Yeah. Now I love it. I've watched it another time, and like I really appreciated it. I don't know. I don't know. It was my initial thoughts off the top, and I just think I feel like it was punchline after punchline. Just when we first met the Hound, it was punchline after punchline. Rum is too sweet. You're a bald cunt. You're not fooling anyone with that top knot. Like, I get he's being, like, even listening to myself, like, I kind of disagree with myself. Like, I really enjoyed that scene. And the Hound was my favorite part of that whole episode. So I think that's something I've turned around on, even with Sam, with his little poopy montage. Like, I like that now. But before I was kind of bitching about it. But I understand the purpose of the scene. It's the first, your first coming back to Game of Thrones. So my skeptical and my just my nitpicky side comes out. But like, I genuinely really enjoyed everything, and the Hound I loved. The one issue I did have, though, wasn't even with this premiere. It was the last premiere with season 6, with the whole Duran thing, and everything felt sped up. They killed Trystane on a boat in King's Landing. They just ended up there. Ilaria Sand killed Duran. I just thought that was a mess. I was not happy with that. But this, I really like this premiere. Do you think that Jaime will be the one to kill Cersei? Yes, I hope so. We know that based on prophecy, it's little brother. She thinks that it's Tyrion. It could even be like little brother. Who knows? Like, it could be anybody. I think it's the most meaningful. And storytelling, I always go with the most meaningful. And I think that that's Jaime. I think that I thought she was gonna die this season, but I honestly think they're gonna push her till the next season. And I think Jaime may switch sides and fight for the living rather than wait for the dead to march upon Westeros. And I think when they finally take over King's Landing, Cersei will try and do Mad Queen style, and Jaime will be the one to stop her. But that's the prediction. People have said that prediction so much that it's almost become real. Like, you think that that's going to happen, but it probably won't. But I do love that aspect of Jaime. He had to kill the Mad King to save King's Landing, and now he's going to have to kill his sister, who he loves, to save it again. And he's known as the Kingslayer. And I just think I love the irony between them. Like, he's called the Kingslayer, and it's so dishonorable, yet he saved so many people. So that's what I love about Jaime. Ronan McGregor, I was wondering if you take fan art and maybe to showcase it as a bonus videos. I really like that as an addition to your channel. Keep up the sick videos. I don't know if it was you, but somebody else did mention fan art. And like, I was thinking about it, and I'm like, you're damn right. Like, I would love people to do fan art. But like, what would you draw? You know what I mean? Like, you're just gonna draw like something like this, but you're gonna place my face on it with like a Canadian hat, and that'll be it. Like, I would love it. I think that's awesome. I just don't know all of the logistics that goes into it. I don't know where you guys would send it. Like a PO box. Like, I don't know how that works. I haven't looked into it at all. So I'd have to figure that out. And the reason why I haven't gotten on it yet is because it does entail a lot of stuff. I need to know a lot of stuff. I need to know where you guys are going to ship it, what's going to happen. You could send it digitally, but I'm honestly, I don't know. So I'm going to look into that for you. I'm going to try my best. And I love the idea. Thank you for wanting to do fan art. I love that. That's so nice of you. Thank you so much. And I've never considered myself big enough for fan art. Like, I'm just a guy who talks Game of Thrones, you know. And I'm a small channel, you know. I like to be bigger, but I'm one of the small guys, on YouTube. So I just didn't think anyone would really want to draw me or just Game of Thrones in general. But hey, maybe I was wrong. Stephen Hart, after watching episode 1, I wish I had never seen the leaks. Honestly, dude, same here. I wish I never saw it. Totally agree. Sort of took away from the intrigue, especially the reporter from Premiere about the cold open wrongly assuming he was being cryptic. Yeah, what an idiot. Yeah, I know. I agree. I wish I didn't see the plot leaks. And I was the first one. When the plot leaks came out, I shat on them hard. I was like, this is so dumb. And then they slowly became more and more true. But here's the positive side, okay? For all of you who hath been spoiled from these plot leaks, think about everything that they haven't talked about. You know what I mean? There's so many details that they've never touched upon, and there's so many stories that they haven't touched upon. For every episode, they maybe touched on like 3 or 4 bullet points. So there's so much more. We don't know, like, what's Bran going to do? He may go to the tourney of Harrenhal and see Rhaegar and Lyanna Stark meet, kind of a thing. The Night of the Laughing Tree, all of that stuff. And, you know, sure, we know, like, the bare bones of what would happen, but we don't know how they get there. And I think the whole thing about capturing a white, everyone thinks it's stupid. I thought it was stupid. But when we see the 6 or 5 episodes building up to that idea, I think we're going to be behind it. I think they're going to make us believe that that makes sense. So we may have spoiled ourselves, but there's a lot left that we don't know. And what we do know, I think, will only be elevated and improved based on what we don't know and what we find out. Nature Girl. I wondered why they sent Melisandre instead of another high priestess who gets everything right. She seems to fuck it up, and I think they just need plot. I don't think Melisandre was sent there. I think she does her own thing. She backed Stannis. She's like, shit, sorry, you're dead. Your wife's dead, and I burned your daughter. So I'm going to go support Jon now. And then she resurrected Jon, and now Jon exiled her. So I think she's going to take it upon herself to go see Daenerys. And that's her role. It's not that she forgot Jon. It's that she realizes how important Daenerys is. And that was the scene we got. She's trying to connect her and Jon together. I don't think she was sent. I think she did it herself. Stephen Hart, is Sandor a virgin? He has never shown any real interest in fashion. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting though. Marco Minko, Euron is gonna bring Alaria and Sand Snakes as a gift for Cersei. Cersei can't say no to that. Yeah, exactly. It's the gift of vengeance, the gift of revenge, which Cersei would love. Yeah, Tyrion Jr. Landstark, your background needs some work. Some fan art will help. You're right. It looks awful. If only I could hang my little Jon Snow behind me. I was going to get a poster, but you know what? Fan art does sound a lot cooler. Let's see what we got here. BuzzTox. Striker 163, what's up, man? If someone leaked every Precious season the same way, each would sound like shit. Fuck these leaks. He's right. He's right. He's got a good point. Even like, say like Hardhome. Hardhome was the big shock of season 5. Everyone's like, oh my God, John's in Hardhome. But he never went to Hardhome in the books. And then you get all those people saying, what the hell? He goes to Hardhome? He travels all that way? Like, I agree. Every leak that would come out would get hate anyway. That's how they show it on the big screen. Phyllis Wright. I think that Euron could end up killing Cersei. He is the little brother with experience, and he will get access, expecting him to turn out to a major mistake to his downfall. I think that Cersei's been such a long character. We've had her since episode 1 of season 1. She's a primary character. And for her to be sent off, I think it has to be a character that emotionally means something. Like Jaime. Jaime would be the perfect candidate to kill her because they're twins, they were in love, and it would be the most perfect kind of a tragic story. I would love that. Marilyn Bentley, what's going on? Tyrion asks Varys in the books about the Hound's coming and goings. Varys says the Hound does visit brothels for what it's worth. Oh, yeah. He may not be a virgin after all. Favorite character development. Mine is Jaime. It's a good question. I like Jaime. Jaime's was cool. They made us really hate him in that first episode. But like Jon is my favorite character, and like I just love Jon's journey. But like it's so funny. Like people are so split on Jon. Like my girlfriend hates Jon. She gets bored every time he's on screen. And I'm like, how? He's the coolest guy ever. I'm in love with him. I think he's so cool. And I loved his story arc. He started off as like, in a way, he was a privileged bastard, but he was neglected because of Catelyn. And then we see him go to the wall. He realizes that it wasn't what he thought it was. And then he gets his first lesson from Tyrion that like everyone has a story. learn their story, learn their perspective. And that's Jon's whole story, is understanding both sides of a story. He goes north of the wall. He learns about the wildlings, learns about them as people and their perspective. And then he's caught on a crossroads between the wall and the wildlings. He brings them together, and that's Jon as a character. He keeps learning the other side of his story. And like that's why I loved his story, is that he's constantly learning and seeing the other side of something. He started off as a bastard who had no claims to anything, but now he's the king in the north who has to rule a whole, like all of the north, which I absolutely love. So we've seen him climb from nothing to a ruler and a significant player in the actual Game of Thrones. What else was I gonna say? Like Daenerys. Some of you guys might not like this. I like Daenerys as a character, but like I've never loved her story. Every time she comes on the screen, I'm like, it's Daenerys. Like I guess everyone's different. Like I'm glued to the screen when Jon's on, but when Daenerys is on, I'm not. I'm like, it's the same old. Like Daenerys, for me, her story, Jon is perspective, hers is conquer. She literally, from episode 1, she's conquering shit. She gets her army, she gets her dragons, and then she builds her way up, conquering everything, abolishing slavery. She conquers Meereen, and then she loses it all. So what does she do? She reconquers everything. And then she comes to Westeros. So now what's her story arc this time? It's conquering shit. So that's her whole story arc, is she just takes things and I like Jon's story arc better. Love Jon is my favorite, but the best character redemption. Yeah, best character redemption is Theon. Some people hate Theon. I like Theon. I'm gonna admit to you guys, I genuinely got emotional when he told Sansa that like he would have taken her to the wall, but now she has Brienne, so we sent her off on her way to Winterfell, and Theon went home to see Yara. Genuinely got emotional. But this season is going to be crazy because Theon is going to have a huge arc because he was like an arrogant piece of shit, and then he really got humbled. He got his dick cut off, and he got tortured like crazy, and now with the ship attack, I think he's going to be left to lead the Ironborn. And I read, I'm not going to take credit for this. Somebody wrote in the comments, I'm sorry, I don't know your name, but what is dead may never die. Like Theon has paid the iron price at life. If anyone should rule, it's Theon. Like he's been dead in many ways. And like to me, he's the perfect one to rule. But watch, like the series is going to end and they're going to put him underwater to make him like the king of the Iron Islands, and then he just won't breathe. He'll just stay underwater. But Theon did have a great redemption story. Derek Strokes, are you going to be spoiler free like Trev next season since you were kind of bummed by them, or are you going to keep looking at the spoilers? I don't know. I wanted Trev to go in spoiler free because I wanted to get his perspective. So with the breakdown, you're going to see how he feels. So I don't want anyone in there being like, you dumb idiot. Like, obviously this happens and this happens based on the leaks. Trev doesn't know. I told him not to look at anything because I think it gives a different perspective. I know everything. I want to know what he thinks when he's watching the show again. Would I do it? It's tough. It's tough for me as like, it's my job to like report on Game of Thrones. And if I'm going to not report, if I'm not going to look at these plot leaks, or if I'm not going to look at set leaks for the next season of Game of Thrones, then I'm not doing my job. Like it's one thing for being a watcher, but I need to talk Game of Thrones and know as much as I can about it for you guys. So I don't think I can ever go spoiler free of Game of Thrones. Because say if I put out a prediction video or anything like that, like nobody would want to watch my stuff because it's irrelevant, because whatever I predict isn't using what's already been released. So I feel like people wouldn't like that. Ness, what's the likelihood of Sansa sacrificing herself by becoming the Night King's bride? Will it matter at the end game in terms of establishing peace? Wow, how crazy would that be? The Night King comes south, and he starts killing everybody, and then by the end of it, he's like, "Hey, you want to be my wife?" I just came down here for a wife. I just need a girl in my life. I don't think that'll happen. I think with Sansa is she's been shaped to play the game. And I think Tyrion is great at playing the game too. And if anyone sits on the Iron Throne, if there is an Iron Throne, I think it's going to be Tyrion. He's like the most unlikely candidate, and he is the perfect character to sit on that Iron Throne. If Jon's story is perspective and Daenerys' story is conquering, Tyrion's is about almost as if like it's like knowledge and understanding how to rule, and like everything has been so against him, like his dad's been against him, but like he always finds a way to get on top. And I think that ability will leave him on the Iron Throne, and maybe resuming his marriage with Sansa. We will see, because she's done a lot of growing. She may not see Tyrion as just a dwarf anymore, you know? It's like he's like the one guy other than Jon who's treated her right. So I think that'd be an interesting thing to play on. I'll just look at some of these comments here. Anthony Brown, I can relate to you in regards to not caring about a character. With me, that's Cersei. I can't stand the character. Jon and Arya are the most interesting in my opinion. Arya and Jon, season 1, episode 1, Arya and Jon are my favorite characters. Jon has stayed my favorite character literally through every single episode. He's not a character that grew on me. He's a character that I loved the first episode I watched. Arya has kind of faded for me. I still love Arya, but like by the time we got to season 6, it kind of faded because I wish they handled her story a bit better. That was my one gripe about season 6, was the episode No One, where Arya fights the waif. I thought that could have been directed better, and I thought that it could have been handled better. So I just her whole story arc now is great, but the way it was, I wasn't a fan. But when she was younger, it was awesome. Zim 137, what's going on, buddy? What is going on? Glad that you made it. I don't even know how long we've been streaming for. What time is it? 9:30. We've been doing this an hour already, and I'm freaking hot. Doug34, Stag. Are you calling me Stag? So what's going on in the lands of House Baratheon people? They can't be happy Cersei is on the throne. No, probably not. And like, yeah, I don't know what's going on with Storm's End. They never introduced it. They never mentioned it. And I think the perfect time to mention Storm's End is this season, which I think would be awesome. I would love if we see Gendry make a return, which would make sense. We see we see Sam looking at how to get Dragonglass. I think he's going to learn how to try and forge Valyrian steel. You just need somebody who can forge it. And for me, that's Gendry. And last time we saw him, Davos was sending him to King's Landing. And based on leaks, mute me, and I will wave you back in. But I'm going to spoil now. We saw in leaks that Davos and Tyrion had a scene on the shores of Dragonstone, on the shores of King's Landing. And we see them with Gendry. Gendry ends up smacking them over, a couple of Lannister guards or Kingsguard over the head with his warhammer, and they end up rescuing him. So I think they're going to have to end up rescuing him because of a letter that they got from Sam. But for those of you who muted it, you can come back now. Spoilers are done. Sansa and Jon married? No way in hell. I appreciate the theory, though. Hey, my awesome Canadian bro. Hey, thanks for so much for releasing your brilliant content. I ever much enjoy your stuff so fucking much. I'm sending a bro hug from Australia and pineapples. Sweet. I always wanted to go to Australia. It's a beautiful island. It's like Australia to me doesn't even seem like it's on this earth. Like imagine like the biggest thing we have is squirrels. I can't imagine walking down the street and running into a fucking kangaroo that can box me to death. Like it's terrifying. Those animals are crazy, especially the buff ones that like walk around like that. I don't know how you do it. Like everything in Australia can kill you. So I have mad respect for you. Striker 163. Jamie did a bit in season 5, episode 6. Everyone hates Dorne, but Marcella's death was an important moment for Jamie's character regardless. Totally agree. I love that moment because it's the first time he ever took the role as a father. And the moment he took that role, she was taken away from him. And it's almost like Jamie holds on to that tight. Like in the last episode, he asked about Tommen. He wanted to talk about Tommen, and he refers to him as his son. And I feel like he feels worse about Tommen's death than Cersei does. Cersei immediately dismissed him, saying like, "Hey, like he betrayed me." I can't believe she said that, but I know. I think that was a really important role. I just wish the Sand Snakes weren't handled so cheesily. Like the fact that they went to Trystane and was like, "Do you choose her? Do you choose me?" The whole way it was handled, didn't like it. Storm's End has been mentioned as a possibility for season 8. They seem to have found a circular castle in Spain. Yes. I don't know if you got that from my video, but on Watchers on the Wall, they did announce that they found a castle that had kind of a circular spin to it. I don't know what other YouTubers are saying. I personally am like, shit, like this is probably Storm's End because we're getting Casterly Rock, we're getting Highgarden. I think Storm's End is next, especially with like, I was like, this could be it. But then I looked at it, I'm like, it could be like a Dornish castle. But then I looked at pictures of like Storm's End, and they do have a lot of circular pillars to their castles, and it looks a lot like Storm's End. So I think we're going to be seeing Storm's End next season, which will be really awesome. And it would make sense for Gendry to be taking that position because it's widely known now that he's the bastard of Robert Baratheon. And the person who knows that the most is Melisandre. And guess what? She's going to go see Daenerys. And Davos knows that. So, and Gendry's going to appear with Daenerys and that crew. So they're going to know that he's vital. And it's going to be an interesting world by the end of this whole war because I think a lot of the rulers are going to be bastards of big houses. So I think that'll be awesome. Stephen Hart, is it really too late to the warging to see other Stark? Oh, okay. Is it too late to see other Starks warging, particularly Arya? Oh, with Arya, I was so bummed out. I thought season 6 was the perfect opportunity to show her warging when she was blind. Like when she was blind, I think it would be awesome for her to be a really good fighter because she learned the ability to warg. And like, I get it. They don't want to take away from Bran, but like if you just gave her the ability to warg into certain things, it would help her be like the coolest assassin ever. And I wish they did that. It would have been the best thing ever. I would have loved it. And I don't think that's going to happen anymore. I think they've written that off. I don't think any characters are going to warg. I feel like it's too far gone and they haven't really set it up properly. Wesley Mons, yo, BuzzTox, what it do? Not much, bro. So, where will we leave Cersei at the end of the season? I think we figure that most of the characters will be heading up north, but Cersei is stubborn. Where will we leave her? I think that Cersei will remain at King's Landing. I think the deal is going to be like, Daenerys is going to be like, well, shit, like, give me your men, and I'm going to go north, and Jon and all of us, we're going to try and take care of this White Walker threat. And Cersei would be like, okay, I'm going to pack my stuff, and I'm going to go to Casterly Rock, and then I'll make my way. And that's going to be the deal. She surrenders King's Landing, and Daenerys will be nice enough to give her and Jaime Casterly Rock. But I think she's going to stay there, and I think she's going to hope that the White Walkers end up taking them out. And I think she's going to be there for next season. We're going to leave her at King's Landing, and she's going to be alone. I think Jaime might even leave her too, because that's going to be the point where he's like, well, like shit, like you're a terrible person, and I want to go fight for the living, not wait for the dead to come kill the living. So that's how I think that'll happen. Talon Stag, Gendry is the last Baratheon, but no one knows that. Cersei was the alliance, her marrying Robert. I'm going to try and answer this question the best that I can, even though I semi-understood it. But Cersei did kill all of Baratheon's, Robert Baratheon's bastards. Gendry just made it out. And I don't think that there's going to be any other bastards. And I think they already set up Gendry perfectly, and he's going to take the mantle of being like maybe the next Lord of Storm's End, or, you know, being Robert Baratheon's bastard. So that'll be cool. And I would love to see Jon Snow and Gendry kind of have a camaraderie, kind of like Robert Baratheon and Ned Stark. I love when it kind of hints at arcs like that, or kind of revisits them. Was Robert really that fucking blind to not notice none of the kids looked like him and were good looking? Oh, you think the kids were good looking? Well, I'm thinking of Joffrey. I don't know. I don't know. That's something about the series. You know, Robert just believed that they were his kids. I don't know. I can't really argue with that. Ness asks, okay, I think there's a question coming my way that people want me to answer. Gurm uses the real science for fictional architecture. A round castle would withstand storms far better. Totally right. Air resistance. Joffrey gave the order to kill Baratheon bastards. He sure did. Nature Girl, kind of disappointed if Olenna goes out the way that they predicted it. She should have been badass and take some with her like Cersei. I don't know. I think she's old. You know, I think her time has come. I think the best thing she can do is provide information that would crush Jaime. And that information would be her and Littlefinger working together to kill Joffrey. And I think that would lead to a lot. Like, Littlefinger's going to get pissed. He's going to send a raven to Cersei. Cersei's going to probably strip Littlefinger of all lands, of Harrenhal and all that shit, and he's going to be nothing. And if you look at my Sansa predictions video, I talk about Sansa maybe using that as a bargaining chip, saying, hey, look, I'll give you the Dreadfort. I'll make you like a lord, a bannerman, which entitles you to lands and to marriage. So it kind of helps him climb back up that ladder, that political ladder. Do you still think that the Iron Bank will give a name that focuses on the House in Black and White and is in debt to them? I hope so. To me, that makes a lot of sense. They really made it clear that the Lannisters are in a lot of debt, and I think that's another piece of the puzzle that they need to be worried about. But at this point, I don't know if we're going to see the conflict between the Iron Bank and Cersei. I think we more likely will see the support of the Iron Bank behind Daenerys. But what's weird about it is that Daenerys doesn't need the Iron Bank. She already has everything she needs. She doesn't need their support. So I feel like they're going to have a role in the season. I just don't know what. But I really hope that they play on the connection between the Faceless Men and the Iron Bank, because the Faceless Men founded that place. And to me, the Faceless Men, they run that economy. And the two are tied together. If the Iron Bank has a debt owed, they will go to the Faceless Men and have that taken care of. So I think the Faceless Men help to the beauty and the richness of their economy and their town. So I think I really want them to stress on that connection. Julie Reichner, going back to season 1, how did Bran survive in a coma for months? Stupid things I think of. I don't know. I think they like feed him like juice or something. I don't know. Like, from a physical level, they maintain his body, make sure he's okay. But his brain activity isn't dead. Like, he just can't wake up. And I think what spared Bran possibly is his warging. Like, while he was sleeping, he could have possibly been dreaming about certain things. But instead of dreaming, he's actually warging. He just doesn't realize it. Do you think that we will hear the Night King talk? If so, what do you think he will say? I don't know if we'll hear him talk this season. I would love to hear him talk, and I can kind of picture the perfect voice that he would have. But I don't think we'll hear him talk this season. I think it's going to be another, like, he's going to be quiet and do something badass that's going to make everyone go, holy shit. But you know what? I don't know if we're ever going to see him talk. We'll have to see. But that one I don't know. But let me see. This could be an awkward pause, or it might not. But I think I kind of wanted to talk about something, and I wrote it down. But let's see if I actually can find it. Damn it. Oh, one thing I wanted to talk about, this is kind of a random topic that I forgot to talk about in my breakdown, is with the discussion between Beric Dondarrion and the Hound. Before I was talking about how every scene has like a meaning. And the Hound and Beric Dondarrion in the last episode were talking about when they first met. And Beric Dondarrion casually said, "Oh, was it that tournament?" And it might not make sense for them two characters to be at the tourney of Harrenhal, but I think him just saying that is a nugget that we are potentially going to see the tourney of Harrenhal, because everything that we've seen is a nugget to what we're going to get. Like with the Lannister soldiers saying that, like, "Oh, I never got to see the Red Keep or the Dragon Pit." The Dragon Pit. They're touching on little things that we're going to see later in the story that are going to pay off. So I just thought that was interesting. I wanted to mention it kind of off the cuff, because I think that would make sense. Nature Girl, if one is to die, who do you think it would be? Jon, Tyrion, or Daenerys? Daenerys, 100%. Like, I think Daenerys is going to die. That's just my opinion. I think she has to die. She's the conqueror. She is going to be defeated. I think Tyrion, well, okay. I think Daenerys is the conqueror. She's going to die. I think Jon's going to have to try and bring people together and kind of pay off his story arc of perspective. And whether it ends with Jon being dead, the King of the North, or the new Night King and rule a new kind of people, I think Tyrion will be there to pick up the pieces to build a new Westeros. And I think that will be on the throne. And so I think Tyrion, 100% going to live through this. Daenerys, 100% going to die. Jon, 50-50. I have no idea. I don't know what I'll do if Jon dies. Like, honestly, I don't know what I'm going to do. Jim 137. Who are the 3 people Jaime Lannister thought stood a chance against him in a fight? Dates back to season 3. Oh, got a little trivia going on here. I don't know. Honestly, don't know. I think Barristan Selmy would be one of them. Arthur Dayne. But Jaime was young at that time, so I don't know. Derek Strokes. Next question was, in terms of magic versus science, do you think that wildfire can be an effective tool to destroy the Night King and his horde of whites as opposed to dragonfire? Yeah, 100%. I think anything dragon would kill a White Walker or a white. Whether that's dragonfire, which can be produced, or wildfire, dragonfire, dragon glass, or Valyrian steel. I think all those tools can be used to kill the Night King. But that's something so weird that I can't picture. Like, imagine the Night King dying. Like, I can't imagine how. Like, would he just shatter into a million pieces, or is it going to be like a Lord Voldemort thing? I'm touching Harry Potter all the time. Or it'll be like a thing in Harry Potter where we see him slowly like fade away. Like, I don't know. That's why my more interesting thought is that he lives, or something happens. Like, he creates a new one of him to replace him when he's gone. I don't know. Stephen Hart. I figured out why all Braavosi would follow all commands when given the Iron Coin. They all know who really runs their city and the world, and they want a favor with the Iron Bank / Faceless Men. You're damn right. Will Littlefinger mention that tournament to Jon? Yes. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. What do you think Littlefinger's going to tell Jon in the next episode? Why is Jon going to strangle him? And it could be many things. It could be him maybe making a sly comment about Ned Stark and who he is. It could be him talking about Jon's leadership because he agrees with Sansa. But I think for Jon really to get angry and do something like that is to undermine his dad, Ned Stark. Because that's like, he respects his dad so much. And I think whether he talks about Ned Stark being stupid or questioning his leadership, or him knowing a nugget about Lyanna Stark being Jon's mother, if Littlefinger actually did tell him the truth and say, hey, like, what goes on in the tower, there could be more myth behind that. Jon would take that as an insult because he always resonated as Ned Stark's son. So I think that's where the anger could come from, but I'm not sure. And the reason Littlefinger would want to say that he's Lyanna Stark's son is because that delegitimizes him to the north. And that kind of puts him in the middle of where, sure, he can be on the Iron Throne, but he doesn't want to. And secondly, Daenerys is taking that role for herself. She has 3 dragons, and Jon is not getting in her way for taking the throne. So if he's a Targaryen, or if he's proven to be a Targaryen, then he's technically useless. He can't be used for anything. So I think that's a useful tactic. Ronan McGregor, do you think in season 8 Arya's character arc will start to come to the close and become less vengeful, possibly marry Gendry and join him in Storm's End to reform the alliance, Baratheon, Stark's hand? Hey, that's happily ever after. I would love that, but I don't know if that's going to happen. The one thing that I find the most interesting right now is that the Hound and Arya are kind of switching places. The Hound is getting more forgiving, whereas Arya is getting more vengeful in a way. Like, it's funny seeing the contrast of these characters. Like, we see the Hound bury the people he killed. He shows remorse. He feels very upset, and he says a few words, whereas Arya kills a whole family. So I think I would love to see them come back together because they shaped each other so much. Arya shaped the Hound to be a little bit more forgiving, and the Hound shaped Arya to be a little bit more hardened. And now they've moved in 2 separate ways, and I'd love to kind of see them come back and meet in the middle. I was surprised when Jorah didn't ask Koth to paint protection over him as she did the other man who needed him passing through Valyria. It was foreshadowed. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm sorry. I feel really ignorant in this subject. It's getting hot here. Phew. Nature Girl. He undermined Ned's decision as the Hand of the King and told him he is only a bastard and Sansa is the real Stark. That makes the most sense. I think, honestly, that does make the most sense. Italian Stag. I think that Littlefinger is going to do a little of all the above, and Jon is only going to pick up on the jabs at Sansa and Ned. I think that does make sense. And I wonder when Jon would ever find out that he is a Targaryen. I'm not sure, but I think regardless, he's not going to be like, I'm a Targaryen and I'm going to wear Targaryen armor and I'm going to take the role of the Targaryens. Like, for Jon, I think he's always going to be a Stark, and no matter what, if he knows that he's a Targaryen, he's always going to resonate as a Stark. The only thing that's significant about Jon being the Targaryen, is the fact that he's Azor Ahai. Other than that, I don't think it has any other significant role. Zim 137, better villain, Carl Tanner of Jin Alley or Sir Alistair Thorne? Carl Tanner is just a psychopath. The way he freaks me out. I remember that one scene, he's like drinking out of the skull, fucking Geo Momo. I don't know. I like Alistair Thorne. I like them going back and forth because Alistair Thorne wanted to do the best for the Night's Watch. He was brought up in a different time, and I just thought he was a better character. And when Jon killed him or executed him, you knew why he did what he did, you know. Whereas Carl Tanner was very like he was just stupid. He's like, I'm hungry, I'm thirsty. Sure, I'll kill you all and I'll live my days here, and I'm just going to enjoy myself. So Tanner was a psychopath, but Thorne I enjoyed a lot more. Bran will definitely be the one to tell Jon he is a Targaryen. Yeah, I think so. I think so too. I think Jon will realize that he has a strange connection with dragons before he knows he's a Targaryen. So when Bran tells him, he's gonna go, "Oh yeah, shit, that does make a lot of sense." But I still think with Bran, like, sure, he can see these visions, but he has to prove it. And I think that if you guys have seen my Bran is the reason why Bran is the three-eyed raven, check that out. Because I think his whole story arc is that ever since he was a kid, he was following the three-eyed raven, and the three-eyed raven was taking him to these family events. And in this season, we're finally going to see the three-eyed raven return back to the crypts of Winterfell. And I think that's in Lyanna Stark's tomb, and I think that's where he finds a harp, Rhaegar Targaryen's harp, or some evidence that Ned Stark left behind that would prove that Jon Snow is actually Rhaegar Targaryen and Lyanna Stark's son. Yeah, man, totally agree. Thorne was a madman. Said he would kill Jon again, even knowing he would hang. Yeah, I know, but that's why I liked his character, because he was like, he thought what he was doing was right. He wanted to protect and preserve the Night's Watch, whereas he felt Jon was not doing that. BuzzTox, Derek Stokes. What does Jon being Azor Ahai really mean? He's essentially Neo. I think the fact that I think a lot of people think that him being the savior means, I've said this over and over again, that he thinks that, being the savior is defeating the Night King. But I think Jon, in every single season he's been in, has proven that he is a savior because he's like a leader, and he leads all people. It doesn't matter if you're a wildling or a member of the Night's Watch, or you're an Umber or a Karstark or what. He's going to make sure he makes the right decision for everybody. And I think he's the savior in the sense that he is the guy who makes the right decision, and he might not just be the savior of the people. He might be the savior of the White Walkers. And what I would love is that he's the savior that rebuilds after everything has been destroyed. I would love him to make it. I would love if he was almost a savior, to be like, to stop this White Walker threat, I must become the Night King, and I must take these people back over the wall. So for me, savior does mean a bit of sacrifice, and it means helping and saving everybody. So I think Jon takes that role very well. Ronan McGregor, what do you think are the chances of Mira ever reuniting with her father? Her father could prove to play an important role in the future. I agree. I think he could play a huge role, and they did introduce him in season 6. We even saw like his face, which shows that he does have some importance. And I think Bran is going to send her back home when he arrives at Winterfell. And I think it's going to be more than her just getting home and seeing her father again. It's going to be that he needs Mira Reed there to potentially bring Howland Reed to the north or up to Winterfell or something like that, where like he's a useful person that they may need in the future. So I think we may see him next season. I don't know about this season. Jamie being Azor Ahai, greatest upset. He's the one of 3. Yeah, that is true. I can't really fight you there. It's just like the thing with the whole savior thing is like everything is backing Jon. Like people who even say, like, for me personally, like this is my opinion, I guess, but everyone debates like, is Daenerys Azor Ahai? Is this person Azor Ahai? For me, it is literally clear as day. Like I'm convinced it has to be Jon. Like it has to be. He's literally fire and ice. He's both sides, and that mirrors his story arc. And like he connects, and those are the both sides we see. We see the red witches. We see the dragons. We see all of this dark magic. We see all this fire magic. But then on the other side of the spectrum, we see ice. We see White Walkers. We see whites. We see resurrection on both sides. They're both mirrors of each other, and Jon is right in the middle. That's why I think he is Azor Ahai, because he's the only one that really fits in the middle. Daenerys is on one side of the spectrum, and whereas Jon is dead center in the middle. I think I'm going to take a couple more questions, maybe 5 more minutes, and then I'm going to call this live stream off because I'm getting hot. I'm getting very hot. So write down some quick questions you guys want me to answer, and I will be sure to get to them. And then you guys got my breakdown coming out tomorrow, where I'm pretty much just going to talk about the episode. And I want to let you guys know, or I want to hear what you guys think about me doing an hour-long video or doing 10 videos about each character or something like that. So there you go. And most level-headed, Nature Girl says. Totally agree. I think I've always loved John. To me, he's got a good head on his shoulders, always does what's right. And yeah, I think that's what's so important about John. And people think that's boring. I love that. I love that about him. Derek Strokes. I've heard a lot of people weren't crazy about the first episode. With only 6 more episodes this season, they have so much material to get into. Do you think the rest will all be great? Yes, I do. I'll give you guys some hope. I think it will be awesome. This episode, I was a bit like upset at the beginning because my initial thoughts were like, well, crap. We have 6 more episodes left. Last season, in season 6, we had 10. And let's say in episode 3 of season 6, we got the Tower of Joy. We got all these really cool revelations. And we had 6 more episodes to go. Whereas with this season, we got Dragonstone, we got a couple of stuff, and then we have 6 more episodes to go. But I think it's going to be crazy. The episodes are a bit longer, and we're going to get a lot of characters come together. So you're going to be getting more screen time of all your favorite characters because they're all going to be together. And there's pretty much going to be, not like it matters, I love character scenes, but there are pretty much going to be action set pieces every single episode. Excuse me. I think that Casterly Rock, the Unsullied are going to take Casterly Rock in episode 3. We know that the ship attack is going to happen in episode 2. I think Highgarden is going to happen in episode 4. And in episode 6, I think is going to be the Eastwatch. So like there's a shit ton that's going to be going on. And I think this will be one of the best seasons because it's going to be no bullshit. It's going to be boom, boom, boom. Every scene is going to mean something, and it's going to be insane. Wesley Mons, how will Danny feel about Melisandre? Will she believe her? Will she accept her into her team, or will she be mentioned, or will she be more apprehensive of her? I think that she will be. I just totally zoned out for a second. What question did I read? I think she'll totally bring in Melisandre. Be totally accepting of her. First of all, just on one level, they both burn people alive. They're both on the fire aspect of the spectrum. But I think Melisandre's going to say some things that Daenerys, I'm losing it, guys. This is why we have to end the live stream in like 5 minutes. Daenerys is going to hear some things from Melisandre that almost proves her validity. She's going to tell her story about how important Daenerys is in the Long Night and how important Jon is. And she's going to tell her story of the resurrection of Jon and all of these little nuggets that will be proven valid in episode 3 when Jon arrives. And Daenerys isn't the person to exile her. She got somebody who knocked on her door and wants to support her. So Daenerys is going to keep her around. Whether she uses her counsel or not, she's going to have Melisandre there because it's somebody who came to support her, and she'd be stupid to turn her away. BuzzTox, if you could bring one character back, who would it be? Khal Drogo, Ned Stark, Oberyn Martell, or Ygritte? Ooh, Ned Stark. It's got to be Ned Stark. But I got to say, Ygritte it's close with Ygritte. Like, I was genuinely upset when Ygritte died. Like, genuinely pissed and genuinely upset. So I would like Ygritte to come back too. I think that would be awesome. But if I answer this question a little bit more complicated, if Ned Stark was alive, a lot of our characters wouldn't be where they are today. So I'd almost want to leave him dead and keep Ygritte around because Jon's my favorite character, and I think he needs a lady in his life. Marco Minko, Jon is the king who came out when the time is right, like now with White Walkers. He can't be ruling the 7 kingdoms with all the politics. It's not him. That's right. He's king at the perfect time to prepare for the long night. And that's it. Yeah, well said. I have nothing to add to that. Um. Derek Stokes, thanks for answering all of my questions, man. Oh, thanks, man. Oh, thanks for supporting for a year. I love that so much. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate that. Tail and Stag, thank you so much. I love it. We're going to be doing more live streams. It's the frustrating thing about these live streams is I don't know if I can pick a specific day. Like I wanted to do Saturdays at 8:30, but then I realized I need to have a life. So I would like to go away on some weekends, which means that I'd have to push it to like today's Friday. So I'm doing it Friday. But people like to go out on Friday nights, right? That's what people do. And if I went away for a weekend, I'd have to leave on a Friday. So I'm just going to be announcing my live streams on the thing. When you guys go on YouTube and you see, oh, BuzzTox is going to live stream at this time, at this day, that's set in stone. That's what I'm going to live stream, and that's the announcement, okay? I might try and do more, announce it everywhere, because this time we didn't get as big of a turnout, but I'm glad for those people who did turn out, but it wasn't as big as last time. But yeah, I'll try and be consistent, is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, you know what? That was a great live stream. I think I'm going to end it here. Thank you, everybody, for showing up. I need to get out of this room. I'm dying. And hopefully my breakdown video doesn't seize up. And from all of you, I want to get a comment on my breakdown video tomorrow telling me if I should keep doing these videos or if I should expand them into different videos. I did this kind of format with Westworld and with Game of Thrones in season 6. But I'm debating if I should do it now. It's a podcast format. So let me know if you like it. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say. And if you want to see what that format is like, if you want to get a taste of it, check out my season 6 videos. Yeah, shameless plug. I don't care. But thank you guys so much for all of your support. Thank you guys all for coming. I love you guys so much. And oh my God, Game of Thrones is in 2 days. So let's. Fuck, I'm so excited. Okay, I'll see you guys later. All right, bye.